Have you ever sat across from a woman? Everything felt perfect. The laughs, the connection, the late-night texts. But deep down, something didn't sit right. Like you were chasing shadows. She said the right things, but her actions, they left you questioning everything. That feeling, that silent uncertainty, that's not love. That's the absence of clarity. And brother, I need you to listen to every word of this video, because honestly, if a woman wants a serious relationship, she will do these 7 things. And if she's not, you're wasting your time, your energy, your purpose, your peace. If you're ready to watch this till the end, comment, "I see it now." Number 1, she doesn't play games. When a woman is serious about you, her actions speak so loudly you won't need to decode her words. And if you find yourself constantly overthinking her every move, sitting in your car after a date, wondering if you did too much or too little, refreshing your phone hoping for a text that never comes, that's not connection, that's manipulation. And whether she's doing it consciously or just running on autopilot from her validation hunting instincts, it doesn't matter, because the end result is the same. You lose yourself while trying to win her, and it's a slow, emotional death that every man knows but no one warns you about, where you start justifying behavior you would never accept from anyone else, telling yourself she's just busy, when in reality she's just not prioritizing you, because a woman who truly wants to build something with you doesn't wait for your attention to fade before responding, doesn't test your patience by withdrawing affection to see how much you'll chase, doesn't start arguments over nothing just to feel control. And the harsh truth is, if you find yourself walking on eggshells just to maintain the vibe, trying to read between the lines like her interest is some cryptic code, then you've already been reduced to an entertainer, a placeholder, and that's not a relationship. That's a job interview for a role she might not even need filled, and you're performing hoping she'll choose you without realizing she's not even hiring. And brother, I'm telling you this because I've been there, because I know what it's like to give everything to someone who treats your certainty like a weakness and your loyalty like a leash. And I'm here to shake you awake. Women who are serious do not put you in emotional purgatory. They don't dangle intimacy like a prize to be earned through pain. They don't make you feel like love is a competition you keep losing. They show up, not sometimes, not only when they're lonely, not when they're bored. They show up because they value you, because they recognize the power of a man on his purpose, and they want to stand beside that power, not play with it. And the solution starts with you. Recognizing that your peace is not negotiable, your time is not disposable, your energy is not free. And if she doesn't match your clarity with her own, you owe it to yourself to walk away with your dignity intact. Not wait around hoping she figures out what you're worth, because the minute you start chasing clarity from someone who thrives on chaos, you've already given her the power to control your emotions, your schedule, and your future. And that is the opposite of freedom, and if you want to regain control, you start by enforcing your own standards, like your life depends on it, because it does. You stop explaining yourself to people who aren't listening. You stop proving your worth to someone who keeps raising the bar every time you get close. And you remind yourself that real women, not girls playing grown-up games, do not test you, they choose you, and they do it without needing to be convinced, manipulated, or begged. Because to a woman who's truly serious, your consistency is not something to exploit. It's something she respects, mirrors, and builds with. And until you find that, you better start becoming that kind of man for yourself, because no woman will ever treat you better than you treat yourself when no one's watching. Because once you understand this, you won't just walk away from confusion. You'll rise into a version of yourself that no longer entertains it. And if that shift feels overdue, it's because it is. That's why I put everything into the Stoic Relationship Blueprint, a straight-to-the-core guide built for men who are done guessing and ready to lead. This book was written for you, You'll get every insight I wish I had years ago, mapped out with clarity, structure, and principles that you can apply immediately. No subscription, just pure answers, permanently in your corner, always available whenever life or relationships start to cloud your peace. The link's in the comments. Take what's yours. Number 2, she introduces you to her inner circle. When a woman is serious about you, her world starts making room for you without you even asking. And this isn't about superficial introductions to make you feel good for the moment. This is about access, about real integration into the fabric of her life. And the reason this matters is because when you matter to her, she wants the people who matter to her to know you exist, to feel your presence, to understand why you're in her life. And too many men confuse isolation for intimacy, thinking because she gives him attention behind closed doors, it means she's loyal, not realizing that if after weeks or months of being involved, no one in her life has ever heard your name, seen your face, or even knows she's seeing someone, then brother, you're not her man, you're her secret. And that's a bitter pill to swallow, because it feels personal, like maybe you're not good enough, or maybe you haven't done enough to earn her trust. But I'm telling you right now, it's not you, it's the fact that she's not serious. And you need to accept that before you waste years trying to become visible in someone's life who never planned to make you permanent. Because a woman who is serious introduces you not as an accessory, not as someone she's just hanging with, but as someone she's proud of, someone she wants her closest people to know, because she's thinking long-term, and she wants alignment across her life. And when you meet her family, her friends, her people, you don't have to ask for a title. The way she brings you in tells you everything. And on the flip side, if she's keeping you in the dark, if she's only available at night, if you've never been invited to anything public, if she never answers calls when she's around her people, then you're being managed, not loved. And you need to stop accepting proximity as proof of value, because being close to her doesn't mean you're part of her life. It just means you're convenient, and that realization hurts like hell. But it sets you free, because once you see it for what it is, you can stop trying to earn space in her world and start demanding it from yourself, because your energy is not something to be hidden, it's something to be honored. And if she's not opening the doors to her inner circle, ask yourself why. Is she keeping her options open? Is she ashamed of being seen with you? Is she entertaining other situations you don't know about? And regardless of the answer, the fact remains. Real commitment doesn't hide, it invites, it includes. It weaves you into the rhythm of her life without you needing to push your way in. And it does so naturally because she sees you as an asset, not a liability. And when that's the case, introductions aren't just inevitable, they're necessary. And if you're still not sure where you stand, look at where you've been placed, because where she puts you tells you exactly what you are, and your job isn't to complain about being excluded. It's to elevate your own standards so high that any woman who doesn't step forward with full honesty, visibility, and pride can't even keep up. And you start doing that by building your own circle so strong, so focused, so grounded, that you become the man who doesn't just get introduced. You become the man whose presence demands respect the moment you walk in. And you don't do that by chasing invites. You do it by being the man no one can ignore. Number 3, she includes you in her plans. When a woman sees you as her future, she naturally starts building you into her present, not with dramatic declarations or Instagram captions, but with consistent, subtle, intentional actions that say, I see you with me 6 months from now, a year from now, for real. And you don't have to beg for that. It's visible in her words, her routines, and the way she frames conversations, because a woman who sees you long-term doesn't only talk about today, she talks about later, about trips you could take, things she wants to do with you, even little moments like, you'd love that place, or we should try that next time. And these aren't just words, They're psychological markers that show inclusion, imagination, and emotional investment. And if you're not hearing those kinds of things, it's not because she's shy or taking it slow. It's because she doesn't see you in her next season. And that's what most men fail to understand. They get distracted by her current attention and ignore the lack of future presence. But brother, attention isn't affection, and presence without projection is a red flag wrapped in comfort. And if she's always living in the moment, if every plan ends when the date ends, if the conversation never goes beyond the next weekend, she's not avoiding pressure. She's avoiding permanence, and you need to ask yourself, are you being built into her life or just inserted for entertainment? Because a serious woman thinks in terms of we. She weaves you into her plans, not just when it's convenient, but because it's natural, and this applies across all levels, from casual errands to long-term life goals. She makes it clear you are someone she's counting on, someone whose presence she values and factors in. And the biggest trap men fall into is mistaking spontaneity for connection, thinking just because she wants to hang out or text late at night means she's invested. But true investment is strategic. It includes you in decisions, timelines, and even dreams. And it's not vague. It's detailed, like talking about your work goals and how you could support each other, or how your lifestyles can align in the long run. And this is how you separate flirtation from intention. And the worst part is, you can spend years chasing a woman who is giving you the illusion of inclusion while she's actually mapping out her future without you. So stop waiting for a sign. Listen to the direction of her language, because it reveals the destination of her heart. And the moment you realize you're not in her long-term map, stop waiting at her station. Start walking your own path. And the way you start turning this around is by becoming the kind of man who lives intentionally. Set your vision, know where you're headed, and when you date, you assess whether someone can walk that road with you, not just talk about how fun the journey is, because you're not building a playground, you're building a life, and that life demands people who can plan, not just party, who can see ahead, not just smile now. And if you want a woman to include you in her future, you need to embody a future worth being included in, structured, principled, disciplined. And when you operate like that, you don't beg to be included, you become impossible to leave out. Number 4, she supports your growth. If a woman is truly serious about you, she doesn't compete with your vision, she amplifies it. And you'll never have to explain why your goals matter, why your grind is non-negotiable, or why your time can't always be spent proving your love, because she already gets it. And too many men fall into the trap of thinking love is measured by sacrifice. How much of your ambition are you willing to trade for her attention? How much of your time can you cut down to make her feel prioritized? And that's how men lose themselves, slowly, subtly, sacrificing the man they're becoming to maintain peace with a woman who sees their purpose as a threat. And that's the kind of relationship that kills potential, where every step forward becomes a negotiation, where your wins feel like betrayals and your growth feels like abandonment. But brother, real love isn't threatened by your evolution. It's inspired by it. And if she's not encouraging you to push harder, level up and expand, she's shrinking you, and a shrinking man cannot lead, cannot build, cannot protect. And what's worse, he forgets who he is, starts deferring to emotion over discipline, seeking approval instead of results. And let me tell you something that most won't. Many women want you to grow just enough to provide, but not enough to become independent of their validation. Because once you outgrow the need for her approval, she loses control. And control is what many relationships are secretly built on, not love. And this is where the difference between a partner and a prison warden shows up, because a woman who supports your growth doesn't ask you to choose between her and your mission. She finds ways to stand beside it, to push you when you're tired, to remind you of who you are when the world forgets. And you'll know the difference because the support won't come with guilt trips, passive-aggressive comments, or emotional punishments every time you choose to stay focused. And if that sounds familiar, you already know you're not being supported, you're being emotionally managed, and that's not love. It's sabotage wrapped in sentiment, and you must stop normalizing it because a man on his mission is dangerous to the average. And not every woman can handle that, and that's okay. But don't shrink your vision to fit her insecurity. Instead, become the man whose life is so locked in on purpose that any woman who dares to walk beside you has no choice but to rise with you. And how do you build that? You write down your goals, break them into habits, commit to progress over perfection, and then you assess, is she walking with you or standing in your way? And if she's not cheering, she's chaining, and chains don't belong in the lives of men building empires. So remember, your growth is sacred, your vision is rare, and any woman who's truly serious about you will treat both as holy ground. Number 5. She respects your boundaries. When a woman truly respects you, she respects your boundaries without needing to be reminded, without needing to test them, and without treating your self-respect as a challenge to overcome. Because boundaries are not walls, they are lines drawn by self-aware men who know their worth. And any woman who tries to blur those lines, push past them, or guilt trip you for having them, is not looking for love. She's looking for control. And if you've ever been with a woman who gets angry when you need space, who becomes passive-aggressive when you spend time on your purpose, who creates chaos when things are calm, who labels your structure as coldness or your discipline as distance, then you already know exactly what I'm talking about. She doesn't respect your boundaries, she resents them, because your sense of self threatens her ability to emotionally manipulate outcomes. And this is where most men fail, because in their hunger to be loved, they fold, they bend, they give up pieces of their integrity to make her happy, not realizing that every compromise not rooted in mutual respect is a step toward becoming unrecognizable to yourself. And that's how it starts. Small favors that cross your limits, small lies to avoid confrontation, small sacrifices of your schedule, your time, your peace. And before you know it, you're living her life and calling it love. And the worst part is, once she sees that your boundaries are flexible under emotional pressure, she'll keep testing you, because the game becomes not about connection, but control, and you become reactive instead of grounded, adjusting your energy based on her moods. And that's how you get domesticated, not with force, but with emotional leverage. And that's why your boundaries are not optional. They're essential. They're the immune system of your identity. And if she truly values you, she'll honor them. She'll learn how to move within your frame. She'll understand that a man who protects his peace protects his future. And the truth is, many women subconsciously test boundaries to see what kind of man they're really dealing with. And when you fold, they lose respect. Not because you said yes, but because you lacked the backbone to say no. And if you want to transform your life, start by becoming brutally honest about your non-negotiables, what you will tolerate, what you won't explain, what you won't sacrifice for validation, and then enforce them consistently, without anger, without emotion, just facts, because a woman who's truly serious will never try to pull you out of your center. She'll meet you in it. And if she can't, let her go. Because the truth is, she's not rejecting your boundary. She's revealing that she doesn't value your wholeness, and any woman who can't sit in a relationship without controlling it will eventually destroy it. And the man in the wreckage will be the one who kept making room for disrespect, thinking it was love. Don't be that man. Build the kind of presence that makes your boundaries known without ever raising your voice, that makes your standards clear without needing to explain them, and you'll find that the right women don't need to be told where the line is. They already respect it. Number 6. She's open about her emotions. A woman who's serious about you doesn't play emotional hide and seek. She doesn't expect you to read her mind or pass her endless unspoken tests. And she certainly doesn't weaponize her silence to punish or manipulate. Instead, she does something radical in today's dating world. She communicates clearly, directly, and without games. And this matters more than most men realize, because emotional honesty is the foundation of trust. And trust is the only currency that sustains a real relationship, not chemistry, not attraction, not excitement. Trust. And when a woman is serious about you, you won't find yourself constantly guessing where you stand. You won't spend nights replaying conversations trying to decode subtext, wondering if you did something wrong because she suddenly pulled away without explanation. Because when she feels something, whether joy, fear, frustration, love, doubt, she shares it with the intent to connect, not to control. And if you've ever been with a woman who runs hot and cold, who pulls you close one day, then vanishes the next, who blames her mood swings on being emotional while demanding you accept the chaos as part of her personality, then you've already seen the damage that emotional dishonesty can cause. And let me be clear, this isn't about her needing to be perfect or never feeling vulnerable. This is about maturity, emotional maturity, and the willingness to take ownership of what she feels without making it your responsibility to fix, manage, or chase her into expressing it. And the tragedy is that many men today have been conditioned to view confusion as normal, to accept ambiguity as a phase, to chase women who are emotionally unavailable under the illusion that their job is to heal her with patience and love. But I'm here to tell you the truth: most won't. If a woman cannot tell you how she feels, if she punishes you with silence instead of confronting what's real, if she disappears when things get uncomfortable or punishes you emotionally when you don't read her mind, then she's not serious. She's emotionally undeveloped, and no amount of attraction can compensate for the exhaustion that comes from constantly being forced to play therapist, psychic, and mind reader all at once just to keep the relationship functioning. And I know it sounds harsh, but it's time men stop settling for emotional confusion dressed as feminine complexity, because clarity is not masculine or feminine. It's healthy, and it's rare because few people have the courage to be seen, to be vulnerable, to say things like, "I'm scared of losing you," or "I'm angry but I still care," or "This hurt me but I want to talk about it." And if a woman can't or won't do that, then what she's really saying is that she wants connection without accountability, love without emotional labor, safety without transparency. And that's not how relationships work. That's emotional entitlement, and you need to start seeing the signs early. How does she respond when she's hurt? Does she communicate or punish? How does she express affection? Is it consistent or weaponized? Does she acknowledge your emotional reality or only center her own? These questions matter because they reveal not just her feelings, but her character. And you don't build your future with feelings. You build it with values, with shared emotional frameworks, with two people who can sit in discomfort and talk about what's really going on. And the way you start attracting that kind of woman is by becoming that kind of man, emotionally grounded, able to name your feelings without collapsing into them, able to express your needs without demanding, able to listen without fixing. And when you show up like that, emotionally immature women will run from you, not because you're doing something wrong, but because your clarity exposes their chaos. Your emotional calm makes their games look loud. Your willingness to be honest makes their manipulation ineffective. And that's a good thing, because it means you're leveling up, filtering fast, and refusing to be seduced by the dopamine hit of being chosen by someone who doesn't even know themselves. And you'll start recognizing that emotional openness isn't about being dramatic, it's about being seen. And once you experience that level of depth, of real, raw emotional intimacy, where a woman meets you with presence instead of pretense, you'll never again chase someone who makes you feel like love is a reward you have to earn through confusion. And in that moment, you will have reclaimed your emotional power, not because you forced someone to change, but because you refused to shrink for someone who wouldn't grow. Number 7. She shows loyalty through her actions. Loyalty is not what she says, it's what she does when no one is watching, and too many men have been conditioned to believe that loyalty is simply about not cheating, about not texting her ex, about not flirting in front of you, but that's the bare minimum. That's expected, not exceptional, and real loyalty, real deep loyalty from a woman who's serious about you, is seen in how she protects your name when you're not around, how she honors your time when it's inconvenient, how she defends the relationship even when she's upset. And if that kind of loyalty isn't in her core, you'll find yourself constantly putting out emotional fires, fighting off her passive-aggressive moods, managing her attention-seeking behavior, second-guessing where you stand because she never shows you through consistency, only through temporary affection when things are good, and you start to live on edge, walking through a field of emotional landmines where any mistake might lead to a breakdown, to a guilt trip, to her shutting down or suddenly questioning everything you built just because she didn't get her way. And that's not loyalty, that's performance. And a woman who performs instead of commits is never serious about you. She's serious about how you make her feel. And when those feelings change, and they will, her effort changes too, because her loyalty was never to the relationship, it was to her own comfort. And you've probably seen this before. The woman who shows up when you're winning, when your attention is full, when the world is going right. But the minute you hit stress, the moment you ask for patience, when your energy isn't there to constantly reassure her, she withdraws, complains, threatens, or disappears entirely. And in that moment, you realize she was never with you. She was with the version of you that made her feel validated, and that's the trap. Thinking that loyalty means being around, when in reality, loyalty means choosing the relationship even when it's hard, even when emotions are high, even when compromise is uncomfortable. And if you've ever been in a situation where you kept giving and giving, and the more you gave, the more she took, and the more she took, the more entitled she became, then you know what disloyalty dressed in affection looks like. It's the woman who uses love as leverage, who makes you earn peace, who says, "I love you" in one breath and punishes you in the next. And you start wondering if loyalty is just another word for manipulation. And that's why this message matters, because loyalty is not a feeling. It's a decision, a pattern, a value. And a woman who's serious about you will show loyalty by how she behaves when she's angry, by whether she brings your personal struggles to her friends or keeps your privacy sacred, by whether she speaks about you with honor or with criticism when you're not in the room, by whether she supports you in public and holds you accountable in private. And men don't realize how critical this is until it's too late, until the damage is done, until they've poured into a woman who was secretly collecting emotional currency to use against them. And it's heartbreaking because as men, we crave peace, not drama, not noise, just loyalty and peace. And most of us never learned how to demand it, how to identify it, because we were too busy proving we were good enough for someone who had no intention of staying when the convenience ended. And that cycle ends today, right now, because loyalty is not something you beg for. It's something you build standards around. And the moment you start defining what loyalty looks like for you, in behavior, in time, in language, in conflict, and enforce it without compromise, you become the kind of man who cannot be manipulated, who cannot be fooled by beauty or flattery or affection that disappears under pressure. And the truth is, most men aren't afraid of heartbreak. They're afraid of being betrayed by someone they trusted, someone they let into their soul, someone they fought for. And the antidote to that fear is clarity, is awareness, is the courage to walk away from anyone who confuses loyalty with obligation, who confuses presence with commitment, who shows love in the light but disrespects you in the shadows. Because when a woman is serious about you, you feel it in how she shows up, in how she fights for the relationship, not just when it's easy, but when it's inconvenient. And you will never again have to question if she's still on your team, because she proves it every day, not with big gestures, but with small consistencies, the check-ins, the honesty, the emotional availability, the responsibility for her part in the relationship, the self-awareness, the refusal to let external opinions ruin what's sacred between you. And that's how you know, not because she says she's loyal, but because you watch how she honors you when it's hardest to do so. And once you experience that, once you get a taste of real, grounded, unwavering loyalty, every woman who only knows how to love you when she's comfortable will be instantly forgettable, because you'll know loyalty is not rare. It's just rare to demand it. And now that you know what it looks like, you won't settle for anything less. You've seen the patterns, you've felt the confusion, you've wasted time hoping things would change, but they won't unless you change. If you're tired of guessing, tired of chasing, tired of feeling like your loyalty is a liability instead of a strength, then now's the time. The Stoic Relationship Blueprint is not just a book, it's a wake-up call. It's everything you were never taught about how to lead, protect your peace, and attract loyalty without begging for it. It's linked in the comments, and once you grab it, it's yours forever. No excuses, no more blind spots. Comment, "I'm done playing," if you're ready to take back control of your life and your relationships. Like the video, subscribe, and help more men find this truth before they waste years on women who never planned to stay.